Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major bombshell today from Stephen Miller, who is serving as the 12th United States Homeland Security Advisor and the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy for President Trump. He just came out and dropped a massive bombshell, okay? He is now speaking about President Trump, speaking with the El Salvador president, and he also just dropped a huge bombshell on Adam Schiff and the Dem Party. Okay, so Stephen Miller, he is essentially Donald Trump's right-hand man. He's Donald Trump's top advisor. He played a huge role in helping lead Donald Trump to victory. He does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, so I wanted to bring him onto the show because he just came out and spoke. So we want to say a prayer for Stephen Miller for doing an incredible job in helping President Trump defeat Kamala Harris, and for making America great again, and for boosting the stock market. Which, by the way, if you want to learn how to invest like Trump, I have a course down below where you can learn exactly how to invest like Trump and learn all the stocks he's buying, and as this economy is booming. All right. So before we jump in, we're gonna read the Bible and pray because God comes first. Amen. Comment amen down below if you believe that today's Bible reading comes from the second book of Thessalonians. But the Lord is faithful. He will strengthen you and protect you from the evil one. Amen. So comment amen down below. And now let's bring on Stephen Miller, guys. All right, so Stephen Miller just sounded off on Adam Schiff and the Democrat Party. Let's tune in, guys.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller, they call him America's heartthrob, is here. All right, Miller, the F-47, how'd they come up with 47?
Well, I think it's just the natural number, Jesse. It just feels right. It makes sense. It feels good. America loves it. One more sign and example of what it is to live in America's golden age. Your monologue laid it out so perfectly and so well. America woke up one morning after January 20th, and all of a sudden, we had a government that was throwing criminals the hell out of the country, that was ordering the opening of our land so we could drill and get energy prices down, that was telling foreign countries to stop free riding off of our taxpayers, pay your own bills, and pay up when you send your cheap imports into our country. A government that sealed the border shut, a government that fired the wasteful, corrupt bureaucrats that ordered the Department of Justice to make people safe, not to censor, not to intimidate conservative and Christian speech. Every day, we are living in a society, in a country, in which the government's fighting for the people who make this country work, who make this country run, and the only people protesting and complaining are the people who've devoted their entire lives to the destruction of this country.
So you're not intimidated by Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer because they're talking a big game, not to mention Fire Marshal.
I hate Shifty Adam Schiff, guys.
Well, Adam Schiff is not only a stone-cold, hopeless loser, but he is one of the most corrupt, one of the most shameful, one of the most heinous individuals ever to serve in public office in America.
Whoa.
And everything he's devoted his life to has been debunked, discredited, and discarded. He literally represents the face of failure. His sole achievement in life was fighting a losing war against Donald Trump, and now President Trump is in the White House, and Adam Schiff is the leader of a dying and dethroned movement. It really is amazing. Think about what the Democrat Party is fighting against. What are they trying to stop President Trump from doing? They're trying to stop him from sending rapists out of the country. They're trying to stop him from making energy affordable for every single American and every single family. They're trying to stop him from ending wars overseas so that we won't have a nuclear winter on this planet. They're trying to stop him from firing bureaucrats who literally do nothing at all.
God.
Suck up resources and money. And of course, they're trying to make him have troops that are men in dresses pretending to be women.
Oh! Boom! Shakalaka. Let's go, Stephen.
Women's sports and men and women's private spaces. That's the agenda of the Democrat Party. Kill the golden age, make everyone crazy, suck all the joy and all the happiness out of our lives, and let a bunch of illegal alien rapists and criminals have their way with the country. That's literally the agenda of the Democrat Party, Joseph.
When are you getting a robot?
Yes, Howard is very hawkish on the robots.
I mean, he made it seem like they were coming out next year. That's what he told me the other night. And he says they're only going to cost 30 G's, so that's nothing for you, Miller.
Well, you know what's crazy? Stephen Miller, this guy is so spot on. Closing up the border, getting rid of illegals, and actually helping our country get safer and better before. It's going to help seal the border and make our economy boom. President Trump has closed the border with Tom Homan and his whole team. This means the government will spend far less of Americans' hard-earned taxpayer dollars on criminals and illegals. This will strengthen the U.S. economy. Trump said, I will be closing the border. So if you want to get involved in this, start investing like President Trump, click the link below. You'll get up to 30 bonus stocks. Donald John Trump said that the market is going to boom, baby. Now, Stephen Miller just came out and dropped a massive bombshell. He came out and spoke to reporters. Let's tune into this, guys.
Good morning, everybody. Who wants to go first?
I'll ask, do you plan on ramping up or does the administration plan on ramping up deportations to El Salvador? And how many people do you want El Salvador to take from the United States?
Well, as an example, there are thousands of either trained Nicaragua members left in this country or their affiliates and associates. So obviously some portion of those will be going to El Salvador as part of our effort to eradicate this foreign terrorist organization from the United States. But there's no upper limit to the agreement. We're going to continue to send foreign terrorist aliens to El Salvador as well as to many other countries.
I
think you were first, I think.
Is the president asking President Bukele today to send Mr. Abrego Garcia back to the U.S.?
Again, to be very clear about this, the Supreme Court ruled that the district court cannot, obviously, compel us to conduct diplomacy or foreign policy with another nation. So they overturned the district court order. And they said very clearly that the district court, it was actually a unanimous ruling, overreached in that ruling. I'm not going to reveal any head of state conversations or conversations at the State Department or the lower level. But the important point that we all agree on is that he's an El Salvadorian. That is his country of nativity and citizenship. He is an illegal alien in the United States. He has no lawful right to be here. He was issued a final order of removal from this country. And so it's up to El Salvador and to the government and the people of El Salvador what the fate of their own citizens is. We can't extradite citizens of foreign countries to our country over the objection of those countries. Obviously, to do that would be a monstrous violation of international law. We can't go into other countries and kidnap their citizens and then take them back into our country. That's up to El Salvador and their own.
To send him back, right?
But it's their own citizen, right? So remember, this whole entire conversation has been wrong from the beginning because nobody was mistakenly deported anywhere. That's like the big fact that most of you have gotten wrong. No one was mistakenly sent anywhere. The only mistake that was made is a lawyer put an incorrect line in a legal filing and they've since been relieved of doing it. He is El Salvadorian. He is an illegal alien. He was deported to El Salvador. I would welcome anyone here to tell me what country they think we should be sending El Salvadorian illegal aliens to.
Didn't a judge order that he not be deported to El Salvador 5 years ago?
So what you're referring to is an immigration judge. So that's Article 2, not Article 3. So there was no Article 3 restraint on his removal. A withholding order or a cancellation of removal order, first of all, as I'm sure you know, does not eliminate the deportation order, right? We all agree on that. So his status was he's an illegal alien who's been ordered deported, which means he can be indefinitely detained and removed to any other country in the world, right? He can be sent to literally any country on the face of the earth. But the preference, general matter, is to deport someone to their home country, right? In this case, El Salvador. Because he is a member of a foreign terrorist organization, withholding orders don't apply to FTOs for obvious reasons. So if you had an illegal alien, say from Syria, who's a member of ISIS, they can't apply for withholding of removal. So that principle applies here. Furthermore, the gang that he said was going to persecute him, so this theory that he's an MS-13 and there's this rival gang, the 18th Street gang, doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. So the entire concept is false. But again, when the media talks about the idea that there was a mistaken removal, it implies to, I think, a normal listener, the wrong person was sent somewhere. He's an illegal alien from El Salvador. Where was he sent? To El Salvador. Where does he belong?
In
El Salvador.
Right? It's different
He belongs.
sending someone home and sending them into a prison that they could remain in.
It is up to El Salvador how to handle the process for their own citizens. Again, what you seem to be asking us to do is to change the government and the laws of El Salvador. So if we deport somebody back to, for example, Syria, should we be closely involved on a day-to-day basis with the Syrian government, detailing that person's life and future? If we deport, say, 100,000 people back to Haiti, should we open a case file on each of those 100,000 people and ask every day, what's their housing situation? What's their healthcare situation? What might they need? What might they want? Once someone's out of our country, that becomes the problem of their host country, not our country. These people chose to invade us. So there's a lot of concern from the corporate media about the invaders, but they chose to invade us. It's our responsibility to return them back to where they came from, or another country willing to take them.
Is the president going to ask for him to be returned to the United States or not? Like, yes or no?
So first of all, it's not a question for me to answer, but I think that the assumption that underlies the question is what needs to be corrected, which is that there was no mistake that was made. He was sent. So what? Let me ask you. So what do you think would happen to him if he came back to this country? As your understanding of immigration laws, what do you think would happen?
But I'm just asking
about whether you're asking a lot of questions.
The president.
You were all asking a lot of questions about this, and you all seem to care about it a lot. So let's see if any of you have researched anything about this issue at all. Can anyone here tell me what would happen to the illegal alien from El Salvador if he came back to the United States? Does anyone here know? Does anyone want to guess? Any of you?
He could be with his family.
Does any of you know the answer to the question? Legally, what would happen if he came back here? Does any of you know? Any of you?
Do you really believe the Supreme Court?
I'm talking now.
Do you really believe the Supreme Court
I'm talking now.
Doesn't think he should be returned? Why was it unanimous?
You're done. Does any of you know the answer to the question? Does any of you? You've been talking about it for days.
All would deport him again, no?
He would be arrested.
Okay.
He'd be put in confinement. He would be deported the second time to El Salvador again because there's no withholding order for an alien who's a member of a foreign terrorist organization, number one. Number two is the gang that he's a member of doesn't exist in El Salvador anymore. So what you're asking for is to be deported twice. But additionally, if we chose to just pretend that the withholding order was real, he would be deported to a different country. So, for example, he could be deported to Egypt. So, I'm just trying to understand, is it your view, in other words, you define a country that would be willing to take a MS-13 member from El Salvador. So I'm trying to understand from you all is, so if he came back and under our laws he was then deported to Egypt or to Somalia, would you then be saying, great, I'm so glad that you deported him to another country? Is that what you'd all be saying? Do you understand our immigration laws at all? But the premise of your question, the gentlemen, the return, guys, do you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order? Do you know the difference? Any of you, please. Do you?
Well, we're not in the government.
But you couldn't even spend 72 hours over the weekend learning the distinction, even though you've been writing and talking about it this whole time.
Steven, we're not going anywhere. On the gold cards.
Just raise your hand. Does any of you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order?
My question is, how do you know that he's a member of MS-13? The White House has repeatedly said according to intelligence.
According to our government and his government. In other words, his government has confirmed based on their own intelligence that he's a member of MS-13. First of all, do you dispute that he's an illegal alien?
What's that?
Do you dispute that he's an illegal alien?
No.
Okay. And do you dispute that as an illegal alien, you have the right to deport him?
Going through
he went through the legal process. So I want to be very. Okay. What I'm getting from this conversation, which is educational for me, is that not one person in the media knows the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order. Is that a fair statement? You're learning about this all for the first time right now? I guess so. Okay. So the deportation order means the judge has said he must be deported from the country. He has no right to remain here any longer. He must be removed from the country. So his only options are to be deported to his home country or another country. That's it. There's no other option. He doesn't get to stay here. He doesn't get to live here. He has no future here. He has no right to be here. He's an illegal alien. So when you keep saying return, because you've been spun up by the open borders advocates, you all seem to be operating under the illusion that he would be able to come to the United States and just continue to live here illegally. That's not an option available to him. His only choices in life are to live in El Salvador or to live in another country. That's it. There's no other option, legally or otherwise, because he came to our country illegally. Do you understand that?
Stephen, can I ask, as a matter of policy, does the administration believe that immigration judges, because they're under DOJ, that their orders can be overruled by what the administration wants? Is that a general matter of policy?
Well, actually, so specifically, is the Attorney General has authority to overrule the immigration courts, and that's actually by statute. Yes. Other questions?
Stephen, on the gold card, the President and Secretary Lutnick have suggested they're lining up applicants already. How many people do you expect to be tagged to this program when the President announces it this week, if he actually announces it this week?
I'll let Secretary Lutnick provide that update, but I appreciate that.
The White House administration is going to deport 1 million undocumented people.
Much more than that. Much more.
Stephen, also of the 10 alleged gang members that Secretary Rubio said were sent to El Salvador over the weekend, what sort of due process did they get as mandated by the Supreme Court?
Well, you're talking about the alien enemies?
Yes, the alien.
So first of all, a number of those are MS-13. So again, those are just standard removals of El Salvadorians to El Salvador. And without,
what evidence did you provide that they were MS-13?
Okay, so we seem to be confused about this. Illegal aliens from El Salvador, again, get deported to El Salvador. Do you all appreciate that tens of thousands of El Salvadorians have been deported to El Salvador? You seem to be under the impression that El Salvadorians living in our country illegally just get to stay here. They don't. They get arrested and deported. Then the fact that they're MS-13 just puts an extra priority on our deporting them. But we would deport someone to El Salvador regardless of whether or not they were MS-13 if they were here illegally. That's just an extra, because of the priority on public safety threats, we're emphasizing the removals of gang members, in this case, foreign terrorist organization gang members. But as to your other question, they went through all of the due process, as you would call it, that is required by law. So, but I just want to, what I find so mystifying is that I've been talking to you all for a very long time. I legitimately, in my entire, going back years actually, in my entire professional life, I've never received this many questions from the media about an American who was raped or murdered by an illegal alien. Legitimately never. And all of you who are enjoying your lives and doing quite well, if you had children and you were living near any of these people, you would move away immediately. You would call the police immediately. You would call us and ask us to make you and your family safer immediately. And you thank your lucky stars every night that you have enough means and enough money not to live in communities where, say, illegal alien pedophiles offend and reoffend and keep reoffending and keep reoffending. There's an expression there, but for the grace of God, go I. The Biden administration apprehended 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela. They were trained to Aragua. A lot more than 2, but the story I'm telling you is here. And they decided they were entitled to an enormous amount of due process. And they didn't feel they had enough evidence to just deport them right away. So they put them on a monitoring system known as supervised release. You're familiar with this case. But a few weeks later, they kidnapped a young girl named Jocelyn Nungary, who was 12 years old at the time. I'm sure you've seen pictures of her. Just the most perfect girl you could possibly imagine. And her mother loved her very much. She was tied up, savagely beaten, stripped naked, tortured to death, murdered. Her body was dumped into a lake. So she didn't get any due process, but I'll tell you who did are the 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela who stole her forever. And there's stories like that all over the country. We just arrested a pedophile illegal alien who's being shielded by a sanctuary city, who's been charged in 20 sex crimes against children. None of you, any of you have had the chance to spend time with victims' families whose children have been raped or whose wives have been raped and murdered. But if that doesn't break your heart, nothing will. And I know that we have some people, like Taylor Lawrence, who fantasize about assassinations and things like that. But in the civilized society, the power of the state is used to keep innocent people alive and to keep innocent women and children from being hurt. This administration is never going to apologize for using the power of the state to keep men, women, and children from being savagely murdered and beaten. If we release known and suspected MS-13 and trained Iragua, and then there's another Jocelyn Hungary, then whose responsibility is that going to be? You think that we're going to sit around wringing our hands, wondering if, maybe we should, release this person, give them a little bit of extra time, give them a little bit extra chance to plead their case, and then what? They kidnap somebody, they slit their throat, they shoot them in the head, and we say, well, at least the illegal alien got due process. They're here illegally. The only place that they deserve to go is to some country other than our country. And it's not a statistic. These are real lives. These are real families. There's whole neighborhoods in Los Angeles controlled by illegal alien Mexican street gangs. Entire neighborhoods where you have to live in fear because of individuals here illegally engaged in extortion and crime. Not to mention the fentanyl. You have cartels that have functional control over the entire northern territory in Mexico who are pumping fentanyl, lacing our drugs with this chemical. Children are ending up dead. They're going out to a weekend party. They think they're taking something safe, and they get a heart attack and they die by the thousands. So we're not going to apologize for doing something about that. And I just wish we lived in a country where the media gave 1/10 a damn as much about Americans who were murdered and brutalized and savagely killed, beaten to death, as they did about whether illegal aliens that we all agree are illegal aliens should get 1 million days in court and 1 million trials and 1 million this and 1 million that. There's 15 million illegal aliens that violently enter the country. If every one of them got the trial that you're asking for, it would take us centuries to remove them. Centuries. We've been talking about this in 300-400 years. Their great-great-great-grandchildren would be the ones representing them in court. That's how long it would take. Illegal aliens who come to our country have to be removed, and they have to be removed quickly, and that is an essential component of having something that we like to call a country.
Stephen, on the matter of visa restrictions, the president on his first day. The president on his first day in office signed an executive order calling on his administration, the Department of Homeland Security, State Department, DNI, to come up with a list of countries that didn't meet the United States' vetting standards and to potentially put full or partial visa restrictions on those countries. I just want to know what is the status of that report that was due to the administration last month? Do you have a list yet of countries?
So the State Department has done the work that you're describing. Is currently going through the standard review process. I don't have an update beyond that, but I mean you're correct in your statement that this was a product that was called for at the beginning of the administration and it's being worked on, and hope to have a further update for you soon. Last question. Entire neighborhoods where you have to live in fear because of individuals here illegally engaged in extortion and crime. Not to mention the fentanyl. You have cartels that have functional control over the entire northern territory in Mexico who are pumping fentanyl, lacing our drugs with this chemical. Children are ending up dead. They're going out to a weekend party. They think they're taking something safe, and they get a heart attack and they die by the thousands. So we're not going to apologize for doing something about that. And I just wish we lived in a country where the media gave 1/10 a damn as much about Americans who were murdered and brutalized and savagely killed, beaten to death, as they did about whether illegal aliens that we all agree are illegal aliens should get 1 million days in court and 1 million trials and 1 million this and 1 million that. There's 15 million illegal aliens that violently enter the country. If every one of them got the trial that you're asking for, it would take us centuries to remove them. Centuries. We've been talking about this in 300-400 years. Their great-great-great-grandchildren would be the ones representing them in court. That's how long it would take. Illegal aliens who come to our country have to be removed, and they have to be removed quickly, and that is an essential component of having something that we like to call a country.
Stephen, on the matter of visa restrictions, the president on his first day. The president on his first day in office signed an executive order calling on his administration, the Department of Homeland Security, State Department, DNI, to come up with a list of countries that didn't meet the United States' vetting standards and to potentially put full or partial visa restrictions on those countries. I just want to know what is the status of that report that was due to the administration last month? Do you have a list yet of countries?
So the State Department has done the work that you're describing. Is currently going through the standard review process. I don't have an update beyond that, but I mean you're correct in your in your statement that this was a product that was called for at the beginning of the administration and it's being worked on, and hope to have a further update for you soon. Last question.
If I may, President Trump continues to say that one of the best arguments for sending undocumented criminals to El Salvador is cost. When it comes to this White House considering sending U.S. citizens to El Salvador because of being criminals, is that the same argument, cost?
So the El Salvadorian deportation program is for illegal aliens, but I would also say that on the cost point, what we're referring to is the fact that long-term incarceration in the United States, I don't know, probably costs like 100x what it costs to send somebody to El Salvador. So that's in other words, if an illegal alien commits a crime in this country and then has to go into our judicial and penal system, I don't know the exact numbers, and I'm assuming it's probably looking at 100x cost. But I'll just close by saying the amount of lives that we've saved since we showed up by shutting down the border, since President Trump issued his executive orders and began deporting criminals, is already in the thousands. And by the way, we've been out looking for the 500,000 children that Biden trafficking in this country. The stories we've already uncovered of sex trafficking and labor trafficking and child abuse is beyond imagination. 500,000 minors were smuggled into this country under the last administration, and the administration not only didn't do anything to prevent it, in every way they funded it, subsidized it, facilitated it, supported it, contributed to it, that if any American citizen did these things, they'd be in jail for life. Thank you.
Wow, Stephen Miller is one American patriot, okay? Stephen Miller just came out and called out the Dems. Let's tune in, guys.
Here with reaction, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Advisor Stephen Miller is with us. So the claim is, and Hillary made this claim and many others, 69 million married women won't be able to vote if they took on the name of their husband, that they will disenfranchise American voters, and it's voter suppression. By the way, this is an 84-16 issue in terms of the polls. Voters want ID, signature verification, chain of custody controls, updated voter rolls. They want partisan observers watching the voting all day, the vote counting all night. That brings integrity to the process and confidence in results. Why would you be against it?
The only reason, Sean, you would be against any of that is if you wanted illegal aliens to vote, and to vote in incredibly large numbers. So let's just deal with all of this BS right now. Every other country in the world of any note requires an ID to vote. The notion the Democrats are pushing that married women, who, by the way, are a Republican voting demographic, cannot get ID, could be one of the dumbest talking points I have heard in my entire life. As you said, the Real ID Act creates an ID that you can get at the DMV that demonstrates you're a citizen. Democrats want illegal aliens to vote. It's why Joe Biden and his administration gave millions, we verified this now, millions with an M, of illegal aliens Social Security numbers. And once you have a Social Security number, it is incredibly easy to vote, to collect welfare, to get free government benefits, to participate in every aspect of American life.
Wow.
This isn't a mystery. They want illegals.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Now that we are sealing up the border, we're taking our country back and we're making it stronger than ever before. And not only that, but Doge and Elon is also helping save the U.S. economy. Multi-millionaire investor Kevin O'Leary supports Trump.
How worried are you about a recession right now because of the tariffs?
A what?
A recession.
No, not worried about a recession.
Not worried at all. This is what the real investors are talking about. Trump says with tariffs, we can eliminate the need to file taxes.
Can we reform taxes to eliminate the need to file?
Well, it's possible. You know, if the tariffs work out really well, you wouldn't need income tax. You know that. If tariffs work out well, our country at its richest was during from 1870 to 1913. That was
our country was at its richest,
and that was, we were an all-tariff nation.
All-tariff nation. We are about to see America become an all-tariff nation. Trump has been talking about this for 37 years, and he's finally doing it. And Donald Trump, he says that this is a great time to buy, and he says this is a great time to get rich, richer than ever before. If you want to learn to invest just like President Donald Trump, step by step and easy, and get up to 30 bonus stocks at sign up, click the link below. We're having a 90% off sale, which is ending very, very soon, just to give you guys a chance to get in on this. Check it out in the link below, guys.
All right, Stephen, what you're saying echoes exactly what Doge found, because not only did millions of illegal immigrants they aided and abetted into the country by Biden and Harris, then they get, let's see, Social Security numbers that they obtain. Then they get voter ID. Many of them apparently voted, according to Doge, in 2024.
Whoa.
And Elon Musk is saying it may be the biggest scandal of all time. And it's not a loophole, but, quote, a deliberate system. Non-citizens file for asylum, get work authorization. Then that automatically triggers the Social Security number. And from there, you get your driver's license. And from there, you get to vote or register to vote.
That is freaking wild to me. I don't understand it at all. But Stephen Miller says the American dream will die if we don't do this.
Joining me now is Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Policy, Deputy Chief of Staff, Chief of Policy. Stephen, the president today said that he was open to negotiations on tariffs if other countries offered something phenomenal. Explain that a little more.
Well, let me address what you talked about in your monologue, which is so important. What is globalization? What is this economic policy that our elites in the United States, so-called elites, have had for the last half century, Democrat and Republican? Globalization is the redistribution of American wealth to foreign countries. It is a formal policy of trying to develop foreign nations at the expense of the U.S. working and middle class. Trillions of dollars that would be in the pockets of American workers is now in China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Canada, Mexico, all across Africa, all across Asia. It is the great theft of American prosperity. Prosperity that was won through our victory in multiple wars. We left World War II as the dominant economic unipolar superpower. And instead, over the ensuing decades, all of that wealth, all of that manufacturing, all of that industry was ripped apart by our elites, shipped to foreign countries, and then they sent us the bill. They said, you have to protect Korea, you have to protect Europe, you have to protect Canada, you have to protect Japan. We won't take your cars, we won't take your agriculture, we'll take away your steel industry, your aluminum industry, your copper industry, your electronics industry. All of the national industries that you need to be secure and successful as a country. So what President Trump is saying is, these are the injustices you have to remedy. This isn't just about moving around some lines on a ledger. This is about remedying the systemic injustice that says the streets of America are filled with European cars and Japanese cars, but the streets of Europe and Japan have no American cars. This is about saying that the American steel industry, which once built and sustained the modern world and is now a former husk of itself, coming back now thanks to Trump's tariffs, has to be completely revitalized.
Stephen?
Yeah, guys, so Donald Trump's tariffs are really going to help change and restructure the entire economy and really put the power back in America. Like Trump says, you know, this whole tariffs could really restructure the way our, you know, country looks. Look at this clip from Trump and Joe Rogan.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure, but why not? Because our country was the richest in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, believe me, they control our politicians.
Wow. So Donald Trump's tariffs can eliminate income tax. This happened during President McKinley. They called him the tariff king. So when Trump does this within the next 90 days, our country and economy is going to boom. We're going to keep more of our money. The US dollar is going to be worth more, and our country and economy grows. Why would anyone be against that? Like Trump says, the best is yet to come. So if you want to get 90% off and get up to 30 bonus stocks, Click the link below to learn how to invest like President Trump, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's video. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.